here. This is our second workshop of the Riverview Master Plan, and we had our first one this afternoon at 3 o'clock, and it was pretty well attended. I think we had 70 or 80 people, 75 people in attendance. And so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about where Riverview Park is today, and we need your feedback, suggestions, and input on what we'd like it to look like in the future, because this is our park. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kimley Horn, and they're going to talk more about our program tonight, and we'll get the show started.
Cool. All right. You want to say something first? Or?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
We're so excited you guys are here. We really want your feedback. I think if everybody has gotten a diagram back at the back table, looks like most of you have them. We also have suggestion sheets. My name is Sarah Battles. I'm with Kimley Horn. Kyler here is a landscape architect. He's going to be kind of the one driving the bus. We really just want your feedback. We understand the importance of this park. We're both residents of the city and love this park ourselves. But this is really just to garner feedback. This is the first step of the process. And so we're going to go over some things with you to start. Oh, you got yours?
Yeah, that's good. Hey, everybody. I'm Kyler, like she said, landscape architect. I've been with Kimley Horn for a little over 2 years. Been practicing landscape architecture for more than 8 years. Have some experience with public parks and rec, commercial mixed use, and residential design. So a lot of it was in collaboration with the city of Sebastian. They commissioned us to, work with them to re-envision the Riverview Master Park Plan and Riverview Park Master Plan. There we go. I was like, that didn't sound right. So one of our first tasks and purpose of this workshop is, to get the feedback from you guys about program uses, things that you feel work for the park, things that you feel like could work better for the park. We've done an initial diagram breakdown of opportunities and constraints that we feel could be addressed in a better way or looked at in the concept phase, which will be progressing from this. We'll take all the data from the first session and the data as in feedback from you guys, directly related to what we found, but also some of these suggested program uses. So yeah. Just to break down the diagram, the stars, the blue stars are landmarks, they're key elements that are currently at the site. Those could be like those current park signs that are along US 1, the plaza space with the fountain kind of out of scale, but it's still there. The irrigation housing, it's a maintenance item, but it's still a landmark that's kind of visible from US 1 as you enter the park, something to consider. You got the playground, the volleyball courts, and their relative location to the other amenities of the park. You have the splash pad, the Veterans Memorials, you have the twin piers, and so that's what the blue symbols represent. You can come take a closer look as you kind of have already, but as we walk around, there will be an activity to get direct feedback with the stickers that you guys have received. But the brown pentagons are the existing gazebos and where they are relative to the playgrounds. The purple are suggested gazebos that maybe we incorporate more of those in and around the park. Where those might happen in relative location to the other uses. The purple is opportunity areas. So one of those opportunities that I felt was most significant and why the circle's so big is that this intersection is one of the most pronounced eastbound opportunities for the park to be create a sense of arrival or presentation. What happens there with vehicles, what happens there with pedestrians, how do the pedestrians enter the park? Other opportunities are at the southwest corner, same thing, pedestrian circulation and how they enter the park. You have that center plaza. It's an opportunity, but it's also a constraint because it feels like it's out of scale, but you know, that's the center of the park. What could that possibly be? Whether it be another programmed use or just a larger space to host events. As you guys know, Sebastian has so many events that you guys, or that we, I shouldn't say you because I am a resident of Sebastian, but we like to enjoy the events, like the clam chowder event. Clam chowder, thank you. I'm not the greatest public speaker, I'll be honest, but I am personable. Yeah. So just providing enough space for those areas to occur. The other opportunity areas are, you know, what could this overflow parking space be? Are there opportunities for like a community center to be established in this area? Do we, you know, incorporate that into other active elements around, directly adjacent to it, really activate that site? You know, this open field area that seems to be empty most of the year, you have opportunities to, you know, fill that space in more thoughtful ways and maybe activate it with, you know, maybe the volleyball court comes down here, or maybe there's another gazebo out here for like wedding venues, or, you know, those are just some ideas that have bounced around at the first, you know, workshop at 3. These yellow areas are areas of constraint that I felt like could be improved upon, some of which are pedestrian connections. You know, the park has a lot of circular pathways and like circuits, I should say, for people to create loops and walk throughout the site. But as the sense of arrival from 512 or along 1, there doesn't seem to be any connection from the corners of the park. And when people arrive at the park, there's studies that show that, you know, you want to have that connection from the corners to directly allow pedestrians to move into the park, because that's where most boulevard or most blocks of cities, people are walking along the sidewalks along the street. So looking at the pedestrian connections along Harrison, some of the activities that the park currently has, like the playground, and the splash pad and the veterans, they have areas that conflict in uses in terms of passive and active uses. The veterans are directly adjacent to the splash pad, which, you know, there's a very loud active activity right next to an area where people are trying to pay respects or host memorial events. And then you have the distance between those areas of activities for kids, so like the playground and the splash pad are some of the same uses. If people are trying to host parties for birthdays, their parents would want to be able to watch their kids and participate in both the splash pad area or the playgrounds and feel safe that they can make that transition between them and not be ran over by cars on Harrison. So what does that connection look like in terms of location to each other? And then basically the red arrows are just current internal and external circulation routes. So 512 heading eastbound and along 1 are your main traffic circulations. And then internally you have established routes that, you know, like I had mentioned, don't have a whole lot of order to it just yet. Is there a way to reconfigure it to, you know, maximize the pedestrian circulation and make those connections from one use to another? Some areas that I think that you guys should consider when we're going to garner some feedback from you guys about the uses and some of the constraints is, you know, what do those uses look like next to each other? Should they be next to each other in terms of Veteran Memorial and the splash pad? Should the playground be located so far away from the splash pad? Should it be moved closer to the splash pad? Could the Veterans Memorial be relocated to a different part of the park where there's more shade while people are paying respects to the veterans during those events? We heard from the last group that, you you know, that is a very hot area. Do we provide shade structures there? You know, what does that transition space between those two things look like? Is it more of like a plaza? Do you like allow that space to become more of a tent boulevard, as I should say, for you know, those extra event spaces for people to set up tents and sell products, and basically create a safer pedestrian connection between the main part of the park and across the street where the splash pad's at. There's some vegetation opportunities, you know, along one, there's some opportunities to enhance that landscaping to create that sense of arrival. There's also some existing vegetation that we may want to enhance to, you know, create that barrier once this area gets rethought of. Then there's also the street park, this potential for street trees to enhance the streetscape along Sebastian and along Indian River. You know, creating that rhythm and sense of arrival that you're at the park could be a simple way of reinforcing that idea. And then, yeah, so the thought behind this was to get you guys active in terms of the uses that are up here. Suggested uses like shade sails or enhanced plantings, public sculptures, whether that be locally sourced artists, or like, are these things or elements or program uses you guys would like to see incorporated into the park, or maybe provide some suggestions on what you would like to see or not see with the stickers?
In the last workshop, we a lot of folks had questions, had comments that they wanted to share. So we can open it up now if you guys have anything you wanted to share.
You mentioned about the overflow park.
This
Parking.
overflow parking?
If you take that away,
Oh, we were thinking about enhancing it, making it more, not such just dirt, and kind of reorganizing the space so that people know that, okay, this is how we're supposed to park, and the parking patterns don't change every single time.
yeah, because that's just gonna.
The community center was this square right here, so it may be a portion of that. Would that be an opportunity to provide, you know, a community center space to have, you know, weddings or other events occur that can tie into the park itself? It's just an option. It's an idea. It's just a thought to throw out there and get feedback directly from the public. I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for doing these workshops. I think they're very important to the people that live here. So a few things that I thought about in that area is for those that have children and strollers and carriages and wheelchairs, that in some of the walkways, if there was actually some concrete extensions that might have seating for a couple of people and an area where a wheelchair or a stroller could be put down that
Okay.
would let a group stay together. Also, I think except under the oaks, there really is not enough shaded areas around where all of the seating are going on the riverside of the park. We could use some more shade. It is dangerous to be biking in that area right now, and I think that should be a consideration. There is lots of walkers and lots of bikers. And also, I was wondering if there would conceptually be an area where there could be some food truck concessions on non-event times, especially in the summer for those of us that live there
Right.
and walk the river. We'd love Italian ice at the end of our
Okay.
walk. I'm just saying.
Okay.
But it could be whichever. And also for older people, we have a lot of people here that use canes, have had hips and knees done, some enhanced seating that's a little bit elevated with some sides so
Okay.
that people could easily get in and out of seating and enjoy the park.
Good to know.
Thank you.
Good feedback.
Can I borrow your laser?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to push. Yeah, sorry. You gotta push. I didn't set you up. There you go. Yep.
Oh, what's going on?
Uh-oh, what did I do?
Okay, I'm looking at this area right here. Okay, right now, that's just like a blank concrete pad. Oh, I mean, I shouldn't do this. Right now, that area is just a blank concrete pad. They used to have a really, my wife and I walk this park about once a week. They used to have this really nice mural of I think it was the Sebastian City logo there. It was pretty bright and colorful, and about 2 years ago, I want to say, they just took it out and replaced it with this bare concrete pad. It was longer than that? 3 years ago? Okay, then. But we liked it. It looked real nice, and then one day we walked the park and it's gone. So we'd ideally like to have that replaced. Yeah.
The kayak launch. Well, there's a kayak launch existing right there. It's more of like a sand entryway. Yeah, exactly. But kind of enhancing that. I believe that Brian was saying that that's kind of in the works already. We have some funding already to support that.
Well, I'd like to see that mural brought back. I thought it was really nice. My wife thought it was really nice.
Okay.
It was, really nice looking. It really enhanced the beauty of the area.
Okay.
So. Oh, sure.
So when you talk about the mural on the concrete area,
Yeah.
are you specific to having something painted on that area, or what about a art mural that raises above, like I don't know, a
Yeah,
pelican or
it
something
looked
of that
like a
nature,
little
something
bit
is-
raised.
Okay.
I mean, I'd like to bring back the way it used to look. I don't know if there's photos of it or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was like tile. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a blank concrete there. It's just blank concrete there. Yeah, I'm not, it
There
was taken out before I got
Oh,
here.
it was
so I'm not
taken
sure.
out because why? I'm sorry? It was worn out? Well, really, because we walk it about every week and we didn't see, we didn't see it being worn out. But all right, well, if we could consider
But
bringing that back, that'd be
opportunities
great.
for public art. So I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's
well,
important.
the Sebastian logo,
Yeah,
it looked really nice the way
absolutely.
they had done it. So if we could bring that back,
Okay.
the Sebastian
I like
logo.
the tile
mean,
idea. That's cool.
And it wouldn't be controversial art, so. Oh.
Hi, I just wanted to expand a little bit on what Vicky was talking about with the handicap accessibility. And I know, this is trying to figure out what we're going to do and where we're going to spend money on the park and everything. And I was talking to Kim a little bit ago, and one of the things that we are really lacking is handicap parking. Now, I don't know when the last time was our handicap parking for this area was evaluated to see if it meets ADA requirements compared to our population. I'm guessing it's probably been a very, very long time. But there was one event, and I believe Fred was mayor when we did this, when you put the added handicap parking on that one first row. Wasn't that you? I think that was Fred that did that, and I was so appreciative. We have a lot of veterans, a lot of seniors, as well as children and other people. And handicapped people tend to think, oh, well, they've got their scooter, they've got their wheelchair. There's a lot of people that have canes, they have walkers, or they just plain can't walk the distance. So if you're putting handicap parking down where you're considering adding the additional handicap parking, you've lost a good portion of the people. That's too far to walk to the park, okay, unless they're in a scooter or something. My suggestion is, could we take some of this money, and I was talking with Kim, we're not really sure what to call them, but buy some temporary ADA parking markers that we always have, because when Fred did it, he did a great job, but it was with the tape and it was with the orange cones, and some of them were bigger, some of them were smaller, whatever. And maybe we could invest in, say, my suggestion is in the boat parking there, take the first 5 or 6 spaces on those first 2 rows and designate them during events as handicap, as well as the other places we have, but specifically, so you've got maybe at least 10 or 12 accessible handicap parking places. Mark those off with these permanent things, and then when the event's over, take all these permanent or temporary permanent whatever markers, put them in a shed where somebody knows where they all are. And then the next event, they come out, everybody knows how they go, where they get set up. And that, I think that would be a real asset. And even though it's not specifically in the park, but maybe we could find some funds within all this grant to do something like that. Thank you.
A couple of other suggestions. One, I'm a newcomer up in this area. Two, I would like to see this park expanded in physical size, bigger. Parks are needed as populations increase. Now is the time to do it before greedy developers get in there and grab whatever they can grab. Secondly, have you thought anything about a community pool? A revenue-generating community pool. Some cities have it, some don't. This is something to look at. That's it.
Appreciate you.
I like what you said about having the splash pad closer to the playground. It's not a deal breaker for me as a parent, but it would be cool to have us centralized and not have to worry about the crosswalk. That's a big one. The other thing I had was I noticed that there's nothing about speed in this area, like speed bumps or something. For me personally, I feel like it's dangerous for kids around that area. If I'm loading my kids in and out, I've had so many scary things happen. So the fact that I don't see speed bumps up there or any mention of safety,
Okay.
it's a bummer to me.
Okay. No, that's good feedback.
So, yeah,
Well-
so let me just add to this. This isn't really a plan that's been put together. This is more of just a consultant and the city staff kind of looking at constraints and problems. Your suggestion is a great one, and it's something that we'll consider as we move forward through this process. And we will be bringing something. We're taking all the feedback from today. Those of you that write notes, provide feedback today. Also, we're going to give another week or two like I know earlier today, we had about 80 people here. Some of them wanted to take it home, and they'll send it back into us. So we're going to give a little bit of time for that, and then we'll build it all into a plan that we can then be presented back to the public, get additional feedback at Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, and then City Council will have a say in it. So I just want to be clear that, yes, I promise we didn't capture everything here, but that's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, and on the note of safety, to the topic of cars and pedestrian conflict, one of the things that's been discussed is the closure of a portion of Harrison Drive so that there is cohesive connectivity between the two separate portions of the park. So I think that kind of goes to your point on safety and whatnot, but.
We're filming it.
okay.
Yes, we're going to just, sorry.
There was one event that they had all of the food trucks and all of the vendors on the main part of the street, was it?
Where the big open field is?
Yeah, the open field and all through there, rather than where people are walking and enjoying the park itself.
Yes, I've heard the word parking used several times. My thoughts are that maybe you could also consider canopies for the cars that have solar power panels on them, photovoltaic, and you could generate electricity, and that could be used maybe for some kind of aeration device or a fountain and a standing body of water, which would bring nice eye appeal to it. And also the owners of the cars would appreciate it too, because then they get into their car after it's been sitting there for a while, it's not steaming hot. And I know there are some cases, like I go to the VA in Viera, they have a parking lot with canopies up there with solar panels, so you might be able to pull some data from that, see how that could be useful. And of course, clean energy like that is very inexpensive. It should be able to use to power other things there. That's just an idea to throw out there.
I like it.
Thank you very much for showing up this evening. It's a class organization, Kimberly Horn, so the city did a good job in picking out a good organization to help us. My name is Damian Gilliams. I live right next to the park. I've been there 37 years. I see a lot what goes on down there. As a matter of fact, if I take you back a little ways, we wanted to try to sell Mullikins to the city so that the city can tie that with the yacht club. But at that time, city council didn't agree with the vision that we had for the community to have that piece. That would have been an intricate piece right next to the boat ramp. The other thing that I tried to give to the city was the old Walmart. I had that for sale and wanted to see the fire department put their firehouse there on the out parcel, but instead it went to Roseland. That would have solved all our problems with the parking, because you could have done a community center right there with the old Walmart, could have plenty of parking for all your events, but because of politics, got involved. Now we're trying to figure this out. Fast forward 20 years, here we are. And it's important to plan long-term. So as your neighbor, the lady that talked about the speed bumps was an excellent idea. I watch the vehicles speed down that road. That should be a high priority because it's a safety issue. And that should be highly on the city manager's agenda to get that done immediately, to slow that traffic down on Harrison Street. And I'm sure that's what you're talking about. I'm concerned about the twin docks there. I remember that was Good Guys. That was a mobile home park. The city purchased it. And the city did not do a good job maintaining those docks, but all of a sudden they want to put law enforcement, federal, state, local law enforcement agencies on those docks, on one of the docks. They're looking to get grant money. But you could never get a big sized boat in there because it was not dredged. So I'm not sure how they're going to go about all of a sudden they're going to maintain these docks, redo them, and then start dredging because they only have big boats. So they're going to make every effort to dredge all of that out. And I'm totally against having those docks taken away from the community, at least 6 of them, because they're going to need it. We are a boating community. We have an inlet. The inlet draws millions and millions of dollars to this community, not just in real estate, not just in bait, tackle, gas, ice, food. These guys come into town, they do big fishing tournaments. And it brings a lot of money in, and that's got to be in the back of your mind, that we need parking. So that brings me to the piece, and I know it's outside the CRA, the old city utility garage there on 512. Did that close that deal, Mr. City Manager? Did that deal close yet?
We have selected a vendor for that.
You
site,
selected a
yes.
vendor, but the deal's not closed. I think City Council should meet immediately and shut that down and do not sell it. We have every reason not to sell it, and I can tell you why. Let me go into the reasons why.
So
We're talking, I understand that, but you tie them together. The CRA, correct. And they tie them together because you're going to need parking. You're going to need large parking. This town is going to grow. And that piece is 4 acres. And you can trolley people back and forth. Right now, if you go down US 1, no, it's not. I'm trying to tie them together. Yeah, it is, because we do a lot of events down at the park, and there's not enough parking. So yes, we need to tie them together. This is a big step, but you'll be thankful 20, 30 years from now. You say, wow, we don't have to go out and buy more real estate. That piece should be tied to the Riverfront District. We have nothing but problems every time we have events with people parking on US 1, and somebody's going to get hurt. But if you had more parking that you can tie into the park area, you can alleviate that problem. And that's critical. By the way, they're only selling it for 1-point-something million as public service, but they rezoned it, and it went up to 3 million, and they kept it at the 1-point-whatever million they're selling it for. So they're giving it away. I say the city council.
So hold on. Look. We're here to talk about Riverview Park.
Yes,
and that's what we're going to talk about.
I want to tie the two. I understand. Can I have the floor? I sat here. You want to tie them together. You want to tie them together. You should talk to the Chamber of Commerce. You should talk to the businesses in the community. You need parking. They park up and down US 1 in front of that park and along US Highway 1, and it's a catastrophe waiting to happen. Just think about it. Talk to your engineers. They will tell you. You are not planning for the next 30, 40, 50 years. Don't plan for tomorrow, because if they would have listened, they would have had the old Walmart the old Mulligans, they could have tied this whole area up and you wouldn't have the issues that you have. In closing, we need grills. If you're going to have a park, you should have some grills in there. And I think the idea of having food trucks is a great idea. Food trucks are good. They come and go. And, you know, they help people that come to the park and don't have food with them. So with that being said, thank you very much, Mr. City Manager, Alex, for bringing this. And by the way, you guys gave me some dots to vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there going to be transparency on that? You mean if we all vote for something, we're going to see that
Oh, yeah.
show up in your site plan?
Site plan, no, it's data collection. So everybody who has, voted on things like, hey, these are important uses for us that we would like to see. There are things that we don't like to see. I'm going to compile all that information.
And that'll be open where there's full transparency. We can see how everybody voted.
Exactly.
Okay, because
Exactly.
that's important.
You're,
That's why I came down
you're
here.
gonna vote on the actual pictures. So after we discuss, you come up and put your stickers on each of the items.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak? Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you. And mine is on the piers, because right now we got these two piers, and they're basically not being used very little for the amount of money that's been invested into them. I know you're talking about the South Pier to have some agencies use that, but the North Pier is basically, it's not boater friendly at all, and I guess that's the way if you all want to keep that, so people can walk out onto it. But my suggestion is, if you're going to keep it that way without boats, is look at artificial reef programs, look at seagrass restoration programs to do along that to attract fish and stuff if people are going to be fishing off of it. There's organizations like Sea and Shoreline. They've done their organization that specializes in seagrass. They've done things in Crystal River where they had a pier area around one of the parks, and they go into actually the schools and they have the kids raise seagrass in school. And at the end of the year, they go out and they actually plant the seagrass. And their parents and everything can walk out in the pier, and the kids can show what they've done to help the lagoon. In that area, it's Kings Bay. But if you're going to have the North Pier, is just make it something that more than just a walkway. Add some artificial reefs at the end and things like that if it's not going to be used for boating. But seagrass projects and stuff like that, and get the kids involved is so important. Yeah, and the fishermen, it'll attract fish, and you get things that attract oysters and clams and seagrass. It just helps the lagoon overall. This would be a good spot for people to go up there and actually see what's being done. They can walk out there and see the difference.
I like that suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Cool.
All right, so I just want to say a couple things before you all have an opportunity to come up here and place the red and green stickers on the map, on the pictures. So in regards to being open and transparent, the whole thing's being filmed. So you're going to see what's placed where. You can stay afterwards and see what everybody does and take pictures. We're not going to hide it. So we have pictures from the first session as well. When that was over, we took pictures of where the stickers were. We just didn't want that to affect your decision-making coming here tonight. But we have pictures of all those. We kept track of what was where and how it was portrayed. Last thing I'll say, and I kind of mentioned it when we were talking about the safety measures, is the city, this is not a master plan. This is just an identification measure for you all to see what between the city and our consultants we have looked at as far as opportunities and constraints. It's not all inclusive. I've heard some things here tonight that were great options that are included in opportunities and constraints. But as we continue to develop this master plan, there will be multiple opportunities for you all to see where we're progressing as we go through the plan. And even if it's something that's not included in the master plan for Riverview Park, it's not to say there's not something that we're not interested in doing as we go forward and looking at that, because the health of the lagoon is a major one for us and ensuring that takes place. So I'm not saying it might not be shown on this plan right here today, but it's something that we're definitely making a priority from the city standpoint. But yeah, can you just?
I'm assuming that the park area basically is what's outlined up there and
The park now, this is Sebastian Boulevard, 512.
right.
Starting park. We have this parking lot to the north of that. We have the riverfront parking that's here.
Okay, and that
This
all
is
belongs.
The main boat hammock portion of the
Okay.
park. And then we come down here where we have the overflow, we have the Veterans Memorial splash
And
pad.
okay,
We own basically this whole area that has color on it.
okay, and that parking lot where they park the boats, that's owned by the city, correct? Okay, okay. I just wanted to make sure I was thinking correctly.
Correct, yes. Green means you want it, red means you don't. Yes, sir.
Retention ponds that are inside the opportunity, the purple areas at all?
There is not any current retention pond. Well, I'll take that back. So we have some dry retention areas that are located here along Indian River Drive.
And along the
They are
parking.
in this area here. But as far as anything here, we don't have any wet ponds, if that's what you're asking. Oh, correct, yeah. So one of the things, and we discussed this whenever we had our initial meeting with the consultants, there were some things here that were great ideas for here, but when we started having discussions, anytime the water comes up, this area here immediately floods. So moving a splash pad down here right along the river is a great idea aesthetically, because you'd be right along the riverfront, but knowing what would happen and the maintenance involved with that from every time that a storm comes, it floods, is not the best location.
So that's when we started thinking about what type of use would be good there. And right now, actually, it's used for stormwater as well. The volleyball court is actually a good use for that area across that's underutilized there, the field, because currently, I mean, you can that's kind of a dual use there. You could have the volleyball court as well as use it for stormwater, or if it floods, it's not a splash pad.
Yeah, and I'll say one of the biggest complaints we get is volleyballs going on to 512 area there. So in that, they're playing right along 512 here. So kind of moving that volleyball court area away from this road intersection here is something we are looking into the possibility of.
Just for those that were here for the CRA planning session, Brian, or I can ask y'all, do any of the elements in this plan project include any of the elements from the CRA district planning for this area?
In terms of like signage and.
Well, there were different elements that were kind of similar to the pictures in here that were on the CRA district plan that people voted on that they would like to see down in these areas. Were those elements included in these element choices?
So those are in consideration. We're trying to gather, yes, there are some CRA master plan items that were included in kind of looking at our opportunities and constraints. Specifically kind of getting from one point to the other, the safety factor in that is identified in the CRA master plan, and then some other elements with that. So yes, they are in consideration with this. All right, so I'm gonna turn it back over to Kyler and Sarah. Anything?
Cool, so we just wanted to get your direct feedback so you guys can stand up, interject, add some suggestion to your clipboards. So like
You can ask us any questions personally that you want up here. If you don't have stickers, we got them in the back of the room. But you can come up and kind of look at what they have here and go from there.
I suggest limiting to 3 stickers each. That way you have, your highest priority. And if you want to double up your vote on the same image, feel free to do that. But that way you don't use a whole sticker pad. Because
Yeah, so 3 on what you support,
3.
red on what you don't want to see.
3 is, yeah.
Red, what you don't.
Can you turn me off? Thank you.